this out. It's like, on the one hand, it's so crazy to me that like you'd be so impatient that like the Eagles coach was like, they won the NFC last year, almost won the Super Bowl, and they were 10-1 just like a month and a half ago, right?
Uh-huh.
And so like it's crazy to be like, fire that guy for a bad month and a half. But on the other hand, like, you just look at the vibes of the team, right? Like these guys look like it's done. You know what I mean? Like this run or whatever this is, right? Like this looks like a team that has quit on its coach. You know?
Yeah, and you know what's funny about that too is you look at now correct me if I'm wrong, was it Doug Peterson that won for the Eagles?
Yeah, yeah.
And so obviously the move away from Doug Peterson was quick.
Yeah, and somehow it's just like it feels impatient. Like if you were just looking at it on paper and you look at the record or whatever, you'd go, "Oh, that's impatient." But then, like when you're watching the games, you know, and you're seeing these shots of them on the sidelines, you just kind of know, you know, like you kind of get the sense that everybody knows this is it, you know, for this coach, for this iteration, you know. So I probably would fire him if I was the Eagles. I mean, they look miserable, you know.
Yeah, I mean, I get that. So let's change your point of view, and I'll let you just do the
Yeah.
argument for me. Let's just change your point of view as far as like let's try to take a point of view of some loyalty here.
Well, I mean, but I guess loyalty to what, right? Like
So
if the players are telling me that they don't want this coach anymore, you know?
yeah, okay, so pretty much once you see a trend of lack of success, no matter how much previous success there was, it's time
Yeah,
to go, right?
yeah,
I guess that's that's a comment that's relatively you have to kind of take it with if you have like 50 years of success, obviously 1 year is not good, but if you have 1 year of success and then 1 year of failure, then the 1 year of failure, even if the 1 year of success leads you to a Super Bowl, the 1 year of failure, see you later.
yeah, yeah. But and I think what I'm saying too is that, and this is the hard part, is there's a completely subjective feeling that you can get when you're watching a team lose.
Well, and
You
I
know?
would say, and I'm actually pretty passionate about this in the opposite direction. So we're gonna have like a true mark it down on the Improve Yourself podcast disagreement with this is that is a true overreaction that the fans love. The fans love that overreaction. Your team gets in a rut and everybody wants to just say, "Oh yeah, everybody just looks so bad." Right?
Yeah, but yeah, I get what you're
So
saying.
so all right. So how
Yeah,
much of the did you watch the whole game? I'm just curious.
I've watched most of it.
Okay, so there was a significant play. I think at the time the Buccaneers were up 16-9 on the
Yeah,
right, and then I don't know. Did you see Jalen Hurts safety?
I did. Yeah, I think it was an intentional grounding. Yeah, in
Right,
the
so
end
we got
zone.
an intentional grounding and then a safety, and then that put the Buccaneers up by instead of 7, they were up by 9, and then of course the Eagles punted the ball away at that point, down by 9, and then the Buccaneers scored a long touchdown. And at
Yeah,
that point, I feel like, and I go back to my experience with Madden a lot with this too. is that when you get down, you play defense differently, and when you get up, you play offense differently. And honestly, whenever you get to a certain point in the game, you're like, well, shit, I've only got 10% chance of winning this game, so I'm gonna freaking bail out of this
Yeah.
game so I can go get a win in the next game, right?
Right.
Well,
Right.
Sirianni doesn't have that chance. He can't just bail out. He can't just quit this game, right?
Yeah.
So things change. So he gets that safety, and then the Bucks score that touchdown. He's down by 9. Your whole game plan changes, and things look a lot different. You
Yeah.
kind of start bailing out, and things look a whole lot worse than they are.
Sure. Sure.
And actually, before that safety, you started getting the feeling that maybe the Eagles could get back into this game after a horrible start, right?
Yeah.
So I mean, so now I'm not disagreeing. I'm just playing devil's advocate,
No. You
To-
know, well, we can disagree too.
Yeah,
Because I totally get what you're saying. There's just like this. There's this. I think it includes just like, I don't know, man. When there's just something that seems off about the team. You know,
yeah,
like they don't seem to. I don't know if it's that they don't seem to like each other very much. That they just. It's not just that they are losing, right?
Mhm.
It's not just losing games. Because I think if it was just, I think there's definitely like being way too impatient just because a team lost a few games that it shouldn't have lost. The ball back. You know what I mean? Like when Sean McVay with the Rams went 5-12, right? At no point did I think that they should have got fired, Sean McVay. But this is just like, you just feel like the vibes are off.
Yeah,
And that's such a subjective thing to say, but like, it's not just that we're losing; it's that it feels like you've lost the locker room, and I don't know how you get that back.
Yeah, and I totally agree with you. Don't get me wrong. I'm playing devil's advocate, and I definitely feel like there is something different to that effect. And I feel like, as I think through your comments here, I think about the Chiefs' rut this year, right?
Yeah.
And even though, some diehard Chiefs fans were being a little overly pessimistic about the Chiefs' chances here, and they were having drops and lost to the Raiders in kind of a sickening Christmas game, right?
Yeah.
There was still the fact that, this is the Chiefs, right? And even if this team this year, say we don't even go to the playoffs, right? I don't think there was any thought that, Andy Reid would go anywhere, right? That's
right. Yeah.
I don't think there was any lack of effort, right? When you watch the Chiefs lose to the Raiders, it wasn't any lack of, tackling. Like, I think Troy Aikman said it best to go on your point and start arguing your point even more further. Troy Aikman in the first quarter was just like, man, this Eagles team just doesn't even want to tackle. They don't want to hit and say, so you start thinking, are these Eagles players, preserving their career? We ain't gonna win this game. Why should I bail my ass out there and try to make a tackle that's gonna hurt me, right?
Yep. And just that, yeah. And those point to like this bigger cultural thing. Where it's like, okay, if we bring these same players back and the same coach, it's going to be awkward and weird, like, and also the Eagles, rightfully so, they are much more married to Jalen Hurts than they are to a coach, right? So
are they?
probably
have they signed him to a what's his contract like?
Yeah, I think he's got a big contract now.
Okay,
he's got a big 4 or 5 year deal, I think.
Right. So
and it's like. And so I think you would also go to him, right? And be like, look, what do you think? And, I don't think he can have the final say, but I also think, like, it matters what Jalen Hurts thinks,
So you bring up an excellent point that not only is it such an excellent point, it's kind of like I'm hitting my forehead of why I had not thought of this so long ago.
Yeah.
And I've always thought about how silly it is the NFL is so unloyal to their coaches. But it's not it's not silly to me anymore just because of the point you just made. And
Yeah.
it's like in college, the coaches are more important than the players who aren't making anything besides their NILs now. But in the
Right.
NFL, the players are making more than the coach. So the coach is disposable, you know?
Yeah.
If
Yeah.
you're going to choose Andy Reid or Mahomes, well, you better choose Mahomes because if you lose Mahomes, you're dead cap for the rest of your life, you know?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah, same thing with Hurts, right? So if you're going
Yeah.
to choose Hurts or Sirianni, and if Hurts isn't convinced that Sirianni is the answer, then
I'm going with Hurts. If I got to choose one, right?
yeah. So
I'm thinking Jalen Hurts. You know.
yeah, so it's like Hurts, is Sirianni preparing your team the best, and could we do better elsewhere? And if Hurts hesitates on that and doesn't support his head coach, then man, you got a good
Yeah.
point, man. I think you've convinced me. I think you've won this argument. Congratulations, Mountain. And I am trying to improve
Yeah.
myself is on the Improve Yourself podcast, and I'm not going to argue you to death until you believe what I say.
A shocking moment. No, I'm
Shock.
kidding.
Hey, Malcolm, it's I'm 35 years old and you're 30, what, 3 now or what?
33, yeah.
Yeah, 33
Yeah.
because you just got your birthday in January. At
Yeah.
33 years old, you won your first argument against your older brother. How does it feel?
I still don't believe it. The night is young.
Yeah.
No.
So Nick Sirianni, we are. I was trying my best to argue you out of it, but then I think you won the argument.
He's gotta go. Hey, and I don't know if we talked about this already. I think Mike McCarthy's gotta go. Mike McCarthy.
Yeah, well, yeah, Mike McCarthy. That's an interesting one. You know,
we didn't just lose. We got smoked. You know, at home.
Yeah, and so
yeah.
Here's the thing, and I hope I'm not biased because obviously I grew up on the team, with the Patriots and stuff, and I hope I'm not biased, but man, the shit that's happening with Belichick, man, talk about like I don't know, a lot of shitty things have happened in New England here with Belichick, but I would hands down Belichick is 10 times the coach of Mike McCarthy, right?
Oh yeah. Oh, 100%.
Right, and I just
yeah.
I can't understand what is going on in New England right now. Like, can you not handle a couple years of losing? Like every other team in the NFL has lost multiple years in a row. Just handle the downtime a little bit. You just lost your franchise quarterback. You're trying to find a new franchise quarterback. Not everybody is as lucky as, Rodgers or Favre, Rodgers, Love, or, Manning, Luck.
Yeah.
Nobody.
Well, and to bring this back around a little bit to what we've been talking about too, I never got. Now I haven't watched as many. I guess I never got the sense that Bill Belichick lost the room. Right? He's losing games, but does it ever feel like his players quit on him? Does it ever feel like his players weren't buying in anymore? I don't think so. Right?
Yeah, and I never got.
It didn't seem that way.
I never got any reports to that effect.
Right, exactly. There's nothing that says the players don't want to be here, right? Or players arguing on the sidelines with each other or something. All those things. So it's just be okay with it,
So let's so the two best coaches in the NFL, I would say, and I think it's without any argument at all, because if you're going to argue about it, it's like, okay, well, it's just your opinion at this point. So you're going to take statistics. The two best coaches in the NFL by far are Andy Reid and Bill Belichick.
Yes.
And so if a player was going to talk about Andy Reid and Bill Belichick, by far, Andy Reid is more the player's coach. Andy Reid is the guy that's going to give you the day off. Andy Reid is the guy that's going to be nice to you. Andy Reid is the guy that is just going to be more of your friend than Bill Belichick is. Bill Belichick's the more disciplinarian. You're going to have to practice on Mondays. You're going to have to do the Patriot way, and everybody's going to put their hard work in, whether you're hurting or not. But with both situations, Belichick and Andy Reid, former players support the heck out of their coach. There's so many players like Randy Moss, Wes Welker, Julian Edelman that have said Belichick for life. I don't know if there's any other coaches that have had such a positive, repertoire as Belichick and Reid. The players love playing for these coaches, and a lot of players love playing for Belichick's hard-nosed disciplinarian thing because it keeps them on track. If you have so many good player, and we talked about this earlier, as far as like the players are the drivers, right? That's the thing. Now, I was kind of joking about what I said earlier about the wild Belichick to Kansas City thing. But if Mahomes said, I want Belichick in Kansas City would say, okay, we'll send out an offer. Then Belichick sits there and says, well, now I got the best quarterback in the NFL, and what's best for my family? Racking down a couple more Super Bowl titles with the Chiefs with the best paying contract in the NFL, less stress. Man, talk about a match made in heaven.
Right.
You heard it here first on the Improve Yourself podcast.
That would be crazy. That would be the wildest thing.
Yeah.
It would actually damage my opinion of
Mahomes. Why Mahomes?
Just like as a person choosing to, just like if he was, well, I guess it depends on what you mean. If you mean Reid retires, and then Mahomes says, "I want Belichick," right? But if Andy Reid gets fired just because Pat Mahomes says, "I want Bill Belichick,"
oh wait a minute, no, hell no, no. I'm saying if Reid retires.
Okay, I got you.
No, and honestly, in a lot of groups,
because I was like, man, that would seem like a pretty cold move. If after all this success, Mahomes like, forget this guy.
Oh, wait a minute. No, I mean, I think a lot of people think that Reid is the superior coach to Belichick.
Yeah.
And I would say that Mahomes.
Right now, I think, in this NFL, he might be. Yeah.
Well, and I mean, even statistically.
Yeah.
Statistically, I think Reid is better than Belichick. So yeah, I mean, Reid, in my opinion, Reid is the best coach in the NFL. And then that goes to your Sirianni firing thing. He's not a Reid, right? So we have the two Super Bowl teams, right? The Eagles, who were probably talent-wise better than the Chiefs, right?
Yep.
And then we have the Chiefs, who both started off the season really great. The Chiefs were 6-1 at one point. The Eagles were 10-1 at one point. The Eagles finished 11-6, and the Chiefs finished 11-6. So we got Sirianni with the Eagles at 11-6, and we got Reid with the Chiefs at 11-6. However, the Chiefs dominate their opening round playoff game, and Sirianni loses to a 9-8 Bucks team.
Yeah.
So the coaching matchup there, I mean, that just goes into your thing there, and not only Sirianni didn't just lose. I mean, the Eagles got their asses whooped.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I mean, it's the same. Yeah, right. It's the same as like it's the same as Dallas, right? Like you go, man, you're gonna fire a guy after a 12-win season. It's like, yeah, but look at how they looked when they lost, right? They looked like a team that had quit, and I think it's because it's like once the players demonstrate that they have quit, even if it's just for a moment. Like, it's so hard to come back from that, right? Like, how do you rebuild a locker room culture with the same coach that has like lost a team? You know, like once that coach has lost it, okay, he lost it. You know, um, and only the greatest, like Belichick and Reed, have the ability to like they build such a culture that they will not ever like not have it. You know.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. So
Um,
interesting. So we got Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes meeting up in Buffalo. What are your thoughts on that game?
I I think the Chiefs. I think the Chiefs are going to do it.
I honestly, from an outside perspective, when we start talking about playoffs here,
Yeah.
you know, I've been a big Snead fan, and I, I almost think, I'm I get scared to buy into a team because then I have to deal with the emotional distress, right?
Yep.
But what happens to Buffalo's offense when Snead and McDuffie, blow their receivers off the line? Is Josh Allen going to be able to handle that and be able to work the offense even though the Chiefs defense is messing with them so hard? It'll be
Yeah.
interesting to see. This is a Buffalo team that just kind of barely beat Miami, and then Miami, obviously they're going into Kansas City with the cold and everything else, but man, Kansas City beat that ass, so
Yeah.
it
Yeah. Yeah.
I
I think Kansas City. I mean, I don't know if I mean I still don't think they're like as good as Kansas City's been in years, in the last few years, but like they're good enough. You know, the defense is so good, and then you have Pat Mahomes, and yeah, I'll take that. I just think, and I think there's a lot of pressure on Buffalo. Like it's
mhm.
a home game now for Buffalo. Big deal, to try and like get home field, to try and get to the AFC Championship game. And I think there's like pressure. Whereas I think the Chiefs are almost kind of playing with house money. You know, nobody's gonna nobody's gonna judge the Chiefs for losing in Buffalo, right? Like this year. I don't think there's a lot of pressure on the Chiefs. I think there's a lot of pressure on Buffalo, to actually win that game.
Yeah, maybe.
So
And what's funny is like we always think of like this pressure on fans, on the franchise and stuff like that, but when we talk about individual players, the
yeah,
player that has the most pressure on him is probably Josh Allen, right?
yeah,
Because
yeah,
like he can't beat Mahomes in the playoffs, right? And so now he gets Mahomes in his house.
yep,
This is when he's got to beat him, and
yeah,
he's got the pressure on him, and um, I just don't see, man, I've said this so many times before, and you saw it. I was watching highlights of the Miami game. Unfortunately, I didn't get to see it in person, but man, Snead is something else, man. He has decided to be an NFL player, and he's gonna get a big payday next year.
yeah,
And so you can pretty much say that Diggs is not going to be involved in the game. So it's going to be a lot of Kincaid, it's going to be a lot of Gabe Davis, but I don't think Snead's going to let. What's so wild about this, and I think the Chiefs are ticked off about it. I think Andy Reid's ticked off about it. I don't know if I text you this, but Andy Reid was just kind of making a comment about this. They put Trent McDuffie in the second team All Pro and left Snead out of everything. And
oh really?
yeah, and so Andy Reid's like, he didn't want a dog. Trent, he wanted to, like, give Trent McDuffie his credit for being second team All Pro, but he's kind of like not even the best corner on our team.
Yeah, yeah,
And
right.
it's so wild. I think as and you got to be careful with player voting, right? Because cornerback's one of those positions, right? You know, like when you ask receivers who you like or whatever. Well,
Yeah.
the best cornerbacks are the ones you hate the most, right? You don't want to see them,
Yeah.
right?
Right.
They might lose a vote or two because you hate them so much.
Yeah. Right.
So, just an
Yeah.
interesting thing, and I think Snead is that guy for the Chiefs, and he's obviously going to get paid a lot of money next year, and I think the Chiefs want Snead. I think he's um, going to be a cornerstone of the Chiefs' offense from now on. I've heard that the Chiefs are preparing to lock up Snead, and they're actually going to get rid of Jones. Is kind of their game
Oh,
plan.
really?
Yeah,
Oh, interesting.
yeah.
I wonder how that'll go. I wonder how much that defense relies on Chris Jones.
Oh,
Like
I
can
love
you,
Chris Jones too.
can you just plug? I wonder what happens when you just plug somebody else in there that's not Chris Jones. Like does the
Yeah,
whole system? How much does the whole system falter?
well, that's the guessing game, right?
Right?
Because they got that. Oh, have you heard of Ominhu from the 49ers?
Yeah.
So he's been winning. His pass rush rate has been great this year, and he's gotten like I think 7.5 sacks, and for his play time, he's been doing great. And of course, they got George K, Karlaftis, and stuff like
Yeah.
that.
He's good. Yeah.
So I think what the Chiefs are thinking is that no doubt Chris Jones is the best player on our team, but you got to start thinking of like, okay, what are we going to invest in? And we've got these D linemen that are creating pressures. Can we go with Snead and then let these guys get pressures and then not so much Jones, but
Yeah.
yeah, it's going to be tough because Jones is another animal, that's for sure.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, well, and it's yeah, it's. I mean, and I think it's always going to be like when you're paying Mahomes, you're going to have to start making decisions in other places. You know what I mean? Like that's just going to be life in Kansas City, right? Like get a guy for a few years and then make a decision. Like
Dude,
before we can't keep paying him.
what you're talking about is the rookie quarterback thing because I think
Yeah.
it's basically you either have a rookie quarterback on a rookie deal or you got an expensive quarterback. It's not just Mahomes, right?
No, no,
Like
no. Yeah, right.
you
Any of
know,
those
it's
guys. Yeah.
if you got a veteran quarterback, it's going to cost a lot of money. Maybe Mahomes costs maybe like 10 more million than another guy or whatever. But anytime you have a veteran quarterback like Stafford or Goff or anybody, they're going to cost a lot of money. Dak, you know, I
Yeah.
think I think we've seen it. I think now Mahomes isn't even in the top 5 of paid quarterbacks anymore. Until he gets
Yeah.
his re-up. So yeah, anytime you have a veteran quarterback, you're going to have to start making some sacrifices, and then teams like 49ers with Purdy can just stockpile. So
Yeah, and what you don't want to be is in the middle, right? What you don't want is to like have like a guy a quarterback who's not quite that good, but he's taken up enough of the salary to still have problems other places. You know what I mean?
yeah,
Like that middle ground. That's what you want to avoid. Like go one way or the other, basically. Um, so yeah,
well,
we'll
man,
see.
I'll let you get to sleep. I know it's way past your bedtime. I mean, especially if
Yeah, well, I'm up because we're all off tomorrow. I was
oh
all ready to go to work,
oh yeah,
but
you're off again tomorrow, man. Let's just
yeah,
do a little tidbit on the weather before we go.
yeah,
All right, so I mean, when we were kids, it seemed like we didn't cancel as easy, but it is what it is. Oh
yeah,
God.
yeah. Well, and again, like it's weird. Like not that I grew up there, but like in North Dakota, the idea of canceling just because it's cold, they would never do that, right? Like they will go. Like wind chill is not like. I mean, it's just they'll still go to school. Like this is So like that was weird for them because then they went there for 2-3 years, and so
Well, and I don't really understand the
yeah,
whole canceling for cold anyway, because if you're only in the cold for like 5 to 10 minutes, it's really not even that dangerous at all. So what are we doing here?
yeah, and I don't understand why a university would close.
Right.
Like these are grown adults.
Well, I mean, let's think about this cold for a second here too. I mean, what is the difference between, so like we're canceling for cold because of -5, but we're not going to cancel for the cold at like 15 degrees, right? But if
Yeah,
you saw the like when this starts actually having deterioration on human health, right, from 15 degrees to -5, I feel like the time frame is not going to be that much difference, right? Like, when
yeah.
it's 15 degrees out and -5, right? Yeah, -5 is more uncomfortable. Like, maybe people want to cry about it and bitch about it a little bit more, but at the same time, it's not hurting anybody as far as like their long term health, you
And
know?
I think the schools, I think like I wonder if the elementary schools, if it's almost like it's sort of silly, but like you almost have to like sometimes like legislate towards like the dumbest parents because I wonder if like the reason they can't have school when it's so cold is because like they know there would somehow be some parent that would stick their kids out there at a bus stop, you know, for 45 minutes waiting on a bus and the bus, you know what I mean? Like,
Totally know what you mean. Like, yeah, stupid people, man, have really, and it's,
and because of that stupid person, we
mhm.
can't ask other students to come here. That's not fair to say, well, the students who are on the bus don't come, but the students who get dropped off do. Like, we'll just cancel school, But we
Right.
just can't do
Well,
it.
and it's not because there's more stupid people today than there was yesteryear.
No,
It's because
no,
the school district knows that if the stupid people sue them, then they're going to have to pay the stupid people.
yeah, and it only takes one.
Right.
It
And
only
so,
it takes one parent, one time, you know, and we can't just trust that people are not going to do that, you know.
for
And
sure.
it's just sadly that's not reality. Um, but yeah, so anyway, so yeah, so we're all off tomorrow.
All right. Well, good wrap up, man. I,
University
I,
closed.
I love the football talk tonight, and I
Yeah,
loved
man, I'm
everything. It was
excited for
kind
the
of more of
playoffs
an
next
off.
week.
What's that?
I'm excited for the playoffs next weekend, man. It's gonna
Yeah,
be awesome.
I think we'll have a lot better matchups next weekend. I mean, all the matchups this weekend were just blowouts for the most part.
Yeah, Rams Lions was the only close one out of the whole bunch. That was the only one that had me watching down to the wire. But
Hey,
yeah,
I
hopefully
did
some better
say
ones
that
next
game would
weekend.
be close. All my other
You did.
predictions were wrong, but I said that game would be close, and it was close.
Yeah. hey, you were right about that.
Yeah,
God.
thank God. Hey, if I'm right about 1 out of 10 of my predictions, I'll take that. So
That's all it takes. It's gotta be right on the next. It's gotta hit red.
it's
Yeah,
bound to hit red. Hey, I mean, it
gotta
hit,
hit red.
right? It hit. Finally hit.
It finally hit. Finally hit. All right, man. Hey, have a good night, man. Good to talk to you.
All right, sounds good. I'll
All
talk
right,
to you soon.
later, bro.
All right, bye.
Bye.